Greetings, everybody. So, delve into the past and history again. IT. I'm going to talk about my first editor, or the first editor I used for several years of my IT career. But before I begin, let's do that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, forward, let people know, just to gain traction, shall we, in these historic events. So it's kind of funny to kind of think back, because today my go-to editor mainly is Vscode, partly because I also spent a number of years working in Visual Studio, first in C++ and then in C#. And other than that, it's IntelliJ, and IntelliJ, because of Java and Spring Boot work that I did. Obviously, people use Eclipse. I think the very first time I used a UI editor for Java, no, the very first one wasn't, because that was 1996. So, but it might have been actually. I can't remember how long Eclipse has been around, but it was Eclipse. Spoiler. So these days, it's impossible to think back to how it used to be in the very beginning. But my first go-to editor was Vi. There was a few variants on like Vim and stuff, but I always went with the bog standard Vi. Vi was on virtually, if not all, Unix boxes, and it's a very simple editor. It does have some powerful features which I can never remember, but yeah. When I used to do I say simple code, but it was like C and script. Vi was simple. You didn't need to know the file structure, or your folder structure, or your project structure, or whatever you call it. You just needed to edit the file and do the change and then save it. And to be honest, I still do load Vi on files when I'm doing some Unix work, or I say Unix work, Linux work, or in WSL on Windows. Obviously, I run Ubuntu normally through WSL as well. But yeah, I still use Vi even today. Nearly 30 years. I was at 28. Probably actually, it's been over 30 years since I've been using Vi, because I used Vi when I was at university as well. But I still load it, but I don't really use it as an editor per se, just to make very small changes. I ever since code got more complex, when you needed to know the project structure, I can't speak today, where you have proper object-oriented code, then Vi just didn't really cope anymore, and stuff like Vscode, it's just and it's free. It's just a fantastic tool. Although, obviously, if you looked at, say, Visual Studio, where you have a proper project creation code, obviously Vscode is more of although it does create sort of its own little project from the folder structure, if I remember correctly. It's not really, it's not quite the same. Although that said, you could argue when you create something like C#, it creates a project. Because you still have things like Maven and Gradle and Nexus, in there for your structure. And obviously, Git for your structure of code. I can't speak today. Repository. But yeah, so those who are starting your IT journey today, be thankful you have these wonderful editors that can do amazing things, including color code and the code, intelligence, in regards to your telling you what it thinks. Is it called I keep going IntelliJ, which is not. Or is it? Anyway, IntelliSense, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, but it kind of you start typing part of a object method, and it will give you that. It'll give you what it thinks it's going to be. All this stuff. Whereas going back years ago, when you had these bog standard editors like Vi, where it just did nothing for you, and you had to kind of do all the work out of your own brain. Lots more syntax errors back then because of it. But I still like Vi. It's still one of my favourite editors for simple stuff. So yeah, so that's it really. That's what I want to talk about is enjoy your visual editors that give you lots of support, because it wasn't always like that. So if you're wondering what Vi, if you've never heard of it, go and check it out. See what Vi does, see what it is. See if, maybe your new favourite simple editor. I don't know, but certainly I've enjoyed using it for many years. It was always Vi or Emacs, the argument at the time. I always went Vi. But yeah, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week. In my car again, probably. And I hopefully won't shake as much like this. Woo! Right, thanks for getting to the end, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.